Hello everyone, and welcome to the Kentucky Valley Educational Co-op's The Holler. Today we're going to talk about what it's like to do some math at home. And I know that you don't have everything that we need like we have at school. Sometimes you don't have bead strings and you don't have the boards that you need and those kind of things, but you don't have to. The great thing about being at home is you have so many manipulatives right on hand. And that is phenomenal when you talk to your children about it. And when I'm talking about manipulatives that you have at home, I'm talking about simple things, very, very simple things, such as macaronis and Cheerios or Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops are awesome. You also have probably toothpicks at home. I had them and didn't even realize I had them. So you have things like that. But also what you have at home that you can use for a manipulative is cards. Cards are a terrific manipulative for your kids, and it's great to play games with your kids. These games teach them how to do addition and subtraction. They have all kinds of different things that you can do, but for me today, I'm going to actually show you how to use them for algebra. Another thing you have at home, you probably have a bead string. More than likely, you have that bead string. It's just in the form of a necklace. So get those necklaces out that you got for Christmas, because this is what this is. This is a Christmas one. Or maybe you got one for your kid to wear, and they probably have these in the bottom of the toy box and you don't even realize they're there. But here's one we use for St. Patty's Day. So get those out, because these can be your bead strings. Now, yeah, they've got something on them, but those can be taken off most of the time, and you can have a bead string to use. Another thing that you probably have at home, may not let your kids use very often, because I know how it is if you've got carpet, you don't want to use it, but Play-Doh. Play-Doh's simple, easy to use that. So I'm going to show you some different things that we can do just to do those manipulatives at home. And I want to get started today and talk about some different things, such as, first of all, place value. I want to talk about place value. And when I talk about place value, here's what I want to talk to you about. Kids needing place value all the time. We start talking about what's those numbers. But simple things that you can do is just some cups. Now I've got some cups here. And as you notice in my cups, guess what I also have? I have numbers on them. And so for my numbers on here, I'm going to take these apart because these are actually a little different. Let's put this one together. Here we go. Now, this is my ones. And my ones have no other number added to it. So I just went around here and I just wrote the numbers on them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then these are my tens, because now 6 tens is 60, 7 tens is 70. And I can put these together, and a good example is, what's this number now? 72. Well, how many tens does 72 have in it? Oh, well, it has 7 tens and 2 ones. This is my ones cup, this is my tens. Now, I went ahead and done the same thing. I've got 0 here because 0 really has nothing. We know that. 0 all the way up to 7 on this one to hundreds. So I did this one. So if I put these together, I've got 172. And I can start teaching expanded form this way. So think about that. I'm teaching expanded form. I'm teaching how to, how many hundreds do I have? I have 100. I have 7 tens. I have 2 ones. So these are all the things that I'm doing, that I'm working with right now, with just these cups. And they can build numbers. So here's my thousands, as you can see. So I did thousands, and I wanted to talk to you about the fact that now I can have the kids create these numbers. I can say, create 3,429. 3,429. Have them to read those numbers to you, and then pull them apart. How many hundreds do I have? Oh, I had 5. I have 5 hundreds. So those are the kind of things that we can do. We can do this with just cups. So keep that in mind. You can make these all the way up into the millions, and it's great. It's fun giving the kids numbers to make or to use, and then ask them what's in the tens place, what's in the hundreds place, what's in the thousands place. Those kind of things is the things that you want to do with your kids. So just having that conversation. Now, another thing is, I know sometimes that they get problems and there's place value blocks in place. So one of the things you might need for yourself is just a ruler, or I've got a tape measure here I can pull apart, and I'll show you some things with the tape measure here in a little bit, but I've got a tape measure here if I can get it apart. That I'm going to use, and this is great for later talking about odd and even numbers, so we can talk about that too. But for me, I have my tape measure, and if it's a bendable one like this, and not like the tape measures that are plastic or metal, you know, if they're bendable, I can take this and I can say, oh, I'm at the 6. If I bend this over, what is half? Oh, half is 3. And I can start to see that. So there we go, half is 3. So if there's 3 on each side, I can see that. So I can teach them what half is. So that's another thing that I can do for that. But let's talk about what we can do for place value. Let's get back to that, because I kind of got off track there. Alright, so if my kids have got these blocks and they're needing to see it, but maybe they still need to build it because they're not understanding what you're asking them to do. Just a sheet of paper. I'm going to use a note card. And what I did was I went out there and I counted 10, because I'm going to make a 100 block. And so I counted 10. I measured this distance. I went over here and I measured the same distance out here. So what I did was I measured from here to the end of there, which was 2.5, and then I just measured 2.5 down. Oh, in this case I measured 2.5 down this way. So I measured 2.5. I drew a line and I was going to cut this out. So I was just going to cut out for the tens here. So as you can see, start here, cut this out, cut down this way, and go ahead and cut out from a 10 here. So I'll cut this out. And you'll notice I have a good square. And on the back, now this can become my 1. This can become my 100 if I need it to be. Now I went ahead and I marked through some of the blocks, and I created just real quickly with paper. The only thing I used was paper. I created this, which is, if you can see there, this is actually now a 100 grid that I have. So this is my hundreds. So I have several hundreds, so if I was needing it, I could go 100, 200, and then what I did was I took this and I just cut these up and I made tens. So my 10 strips look like this. So now I have 10 strips. So if that was 200, 210, 220, 230. This gives my kids a chance to do that. And then I went ahead and cut out each one of these little blocks here. I just did it on a 10 because we usually change in. But I created, this would be 231. And so they can see that. And I can draw the little lines on there if I needed to have that to look like a 10. If my kids really needed that and I needed that more information for them and they needed to put their finger on it to be able to count, those are the kind of things I could create real cheaply. Like I said, just out of a sheet of paper. Just measuring it, making sure I have the 10 by 10 ready to go for them. They've got it. They can maneuver it. They can use it over and over again. That's the kind of thing I want, and I can just stick it back in a little Ziploc bag and have it for later. And I have those manipulatives that they would typically see on maybe a worksheet or in some of the questions that the teacher's asking them to be able. Sometimes they'll ask them to draw these, and you can see that by just having them to draw. And then later on, after they get comfortable, so their block becomes 100, and they can write inside of it like that. And then their little rod becomes a 10. And then they can either use a little square for ones like that, so that's 111. So they can see that and they can do that. So having them to draw too, draw along with it, but you're going to be talking about it all the time, and you want to continue doing that. So that's just some of the things for place value that we can discuss. For multiplication and division, what can I use? Let's talk about that next, because that's a big one. what can I use for multiplication and division? And everybody seems to think, oh, you just have to memorize those, but that's not true. We don't want them to just memorize. We want them to really get a good understanding of what's happening and how that grouping is happening. So when I talk about multiplication and division, I want to talk about what does it actually mean. So when you talk to them, and let's say that you've got 3 times 4, that's 3 groups of 4. Now, what can I use to actually teach multiplication for my kids if that's what I'm working on? So I can use several different things. One, I'm probably going to pull out the Cheerios. I'm probably going to pull out the macaronis that I have that's extra, because maybe they don't like that type of macaroni. I can pull out toothpicks because I can bundle them together. Those are some things. But I can also use playing cards, because look at here, what's on the front of this one? And we're not doing, well, we can do 3 times 4. Let's do that. So I said that's 3 groups of 4. So let's find 3 groups of 4. 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 4, 3 groups of 4. Now, what do I see here? 3 groups of 4, 4, 8, 12. If they need to, they can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I can still do that. So for my kids at home, I want to think, what can I use? Now I may have to put 2 decks of cards together, and then that's going to go all the way up to 8, which is great. So you can get those numbers. But the big thing about this is I've got symbols they can touch and see. So keep that in mind. So if I'm doing multiplication and division, there's symbols that I can touch and see. And I want them to be able to do that. I want them to be able to see that. Now, what else can I do? Well, I can use an egg carton. We all have egg cartons around, right? Because you have to have scrambled eggs every morning, eggs with biscuits, eggs with toast, those kind of things. And eggs is quick and easy to do for breakfast. And as you see, I went ahead and wrote inside of here, I wrote the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 12. Why is that? Because just like before, if I've got 3 groups of 4, what do I want to do? So let's think about 3 groups of 4. I want to do 3 groups of 4 in each group. So in this case, I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. If I need to, I can pour these all out and count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I've got 3 groups of 4. Now I can dump these out and I can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to line them up because it just drives me crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12. Now, I can do this all the way up to 12 with as many as I need, which will mean I will need 144 of something. But paper clips will work, drop them down in there. Cheerios will work, you can drop them in there. Buttons will work. My grandmother used to save buttons all the time, but she had this big old jar of buttons, and I always loved looking at them. Those are great for sorting and other things, but buttons, you can just drop those down in there. So if I had 2 times 2, 2 groups of 2, there's my 4. I can dump my buttons out, which you can't see real good on the black map. And I have 2 groups of 2, which is 4. So buttons will work. So if you're a collector of buttons, you have all kinds of manipulatives there. But using this egg carton to teach multiplication. Now, I know if you're like me, you also have at home some wonderful, terrific, because these are awesome, clothespins. They don't have to be fancy clothespins, they can just be wooden clothespins, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if I've got this necklace and I need to see 3 groups of 4, I can lay my necklace out, and maybe this can be my starting point. So I'm going to use this for my starting point. Or if you're real lucky and you got one of these that pop loose, this is even better. Let's start here. I'm going to lay this out like I would typically do this. So now, 3 groups of 4. My first group of 4 would be here. So I know that's my first 4. Counting 4 more over, 1, 2, 3, 4. My next group of 4 is right here. And if I needed to, I could put a number on here. My next group of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. My next group of 4 is right here. So I know that is 4, 8, 12. I can do that with another number. Let's say I've got two groups of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My first one. Counting over 8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Count 7 or 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's on 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my two groups of 8. Where am I at? My kids can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or if they're really good, they'll say, oh, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So two groups of 8, or 2 times 8 is 16. And so they can do that with just this. And you've probably got a bunch of these around home that you use. They're great for potato chips, so you might have to steal them off the potato chip bag. But they do work for multiplication and even division. Let's say that I've got 24. So we're going to count up 24 really quickly. And I'm going to divide it by 3. So 24 divided by 3. And this is going to get interesting the way I do this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I've got 24 here. Now, I said I was going to divide it up into groups of 3. That's what I said. So this is 24, counting over 3. I need more than I've got here. Counting over 3. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put another one here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Get some more. Oh, where'd I put them? Right here. Hopefully I brought enough of these. But 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. That's what we had to do. So they can do division with it. So keep that in mind. That's one of the things that we can do. Now, I know that we've got some other things that we can do with that. Like I said, I wanted to show you how to do that with this. It's the same thing. It's a number line. The kids can actually see these numbers and they can start to do that. So if I've got a tape measure at home that's got the numbers on it, this is just a sewing tape measure. I can go ahead and let's do the same thing with this one. So I know I'm dividing in groups of 3, and let's say I can count pretty good by 3s. So I know 3, then 6, then 9, and then 12, and then like I said, if they get to there and they're confused and they need to count up, they can go ahead and count up 3 more, 3 more, and I'm putting it right on there. And I'm only going to 24, right? There's 21, and here's 24. I'm stopping because I said I'm dividing into groups of 3 up to 24. And then I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I've done that. I've got my 8. This is just another way that you can do it. Like I said, it's perfectly fine. And they can start to see that. Now, another thing that you can do is if you want to make it a game and who can do that, who can do multiplication, use your cards. And if you're doing multiplication, 4 times 4. Now, this can get really fun if you've got a 6th grader or 7th grader or 8th grader in your home. Play this game, but these are negative and these are positive. So negative 4 times positive 4 is a negative 16. So start playing it that way. You can do it as addition and subtraction. Addition. Let's say that negative 4 plus 4 is what? Well, your kids are going to know they cancel each other out. So a negative and a positive together, if I'm $4 in debt and I get $4, I had to give that to them to have any money left? Nope, it's 0. So just have that conversation with them about that. What is this and how much is this? Like I said, this would be for your 6th, 7th, and 8th graders working on those integers. You don't want to try this with other grade levels lower than that, because it can get really confusing for them. In that case, you're just gonna add what's 4 and 4. Oh, it's 8. So keep that in mind. That's one of the games that you can play with this. You can play greater than or less than. Who's got the greater number? 8's greater than 4. You can do this with integers. Like I said, for your 6th, 7th, and 8th grader, who's got the greater number? You got -8, you're in the hole. I got 4, because black is always positive and red's negative. So I got 4, I've got the greater number, and they take it. And so you play war until somebody loses all of the amounts. So, or all their cards. So just another way to do that. We go to the store and we have cash register tape. If you don't have a number line like this, you get a receipt most of the time at the store, right? So it's like cash register tape that you get, but you get this long receipt. And usually on the back of it, sometimes it has a lot writing on it, sometimes it doesn't have anything. But these things are awesome to be able to use for, I'm gonna tear this off, but to make your own number lines that you can fold and do those kind of things with. So you may want to take this cash register tape and you may want to do your own number line. That way they have it. And so you can even start at 0 and just go through and make your own number line real quick on the back of your receipt. So they can use that with, you know, a bright colored marker or something like that. Just make your own number line up to a certain number. If you want to make it all the way up to 100, you know, you'd have to make them smaller, of course. I like bigger. You can always tape a couple of receipts together. If you're like me, you save receipts and they're probably in a bowl somewhere or a cup or something. And so you're keeping those receipts because you don't want to get rid of them, but tape them together. And then you can make your own number line. You don't have to worry about it. That's another one that you can do. Let's talk a little bit now about just if I need to teach some algebra to my students and I'm having some trouble with it at home because they're not getting it. So what can I do? Well, you can use cards and you can set up the algebra cards. You can set up the cards, interestingly enough. I try to start out with things that are simple to be able to explain to my kids, so I want to use smaller numbers. So in this case, I want to use these for exactly what they are. They are variables. So let's say I have 2 jacks, -6. -6 we're going to say is a negative number, and that's equal to, let's say that's equal to 4, if I can find a 4 in here real quick. And it's a positive 4. Now, what do I know is going to happen? It's going to be equal to 4. So 2 jacks subtract 6 is equal to 4. I have to get this 6 away from this to over here, right? So I need a what? I need a positive, correct? So to cancel that out, I need a positive number. And so a positive would be this. This is going to cancel this out. These now are going away. So what I did to that side, I have to do over here. So now I have this, right? Now this is the coolest because I have 2 jacks, right? Now in this case, we're not going to worry about that this is a negative. Let's go ahead and make this a positive. I'm going to use the 2 black jacks. That way there's no question, because we're not going to try to teach negative numbers right now. So I got 2 black jacks and they get to divide this. Each jack now gets to divide this. So 2x subtract 6, which was a -6, is equal to 4. Well, in this case, we're going to look at this and we're going to say, wow, okay, I got rid of that negative, I made it a positive, I added it over here. Now I've got 10 over here because I know when I add these 2 together, I got 10. But you can turn this away. This jack gets this top line, this jack gets this bottom line. Now this jack, 1 jack, 1x is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's just one way of doing this. And just using the variable of 2 can help you a lot. Now you can go up to 4 because of course you have 4 queens or you have 4 jacks and those kind of things. But when these don't use them as negative or positive. Just think about them as just being a jack or a queen. Now, the numbers though, like I said before, these can be used as negative or positive because this can be a -8. This is a -4. This is a +4. This is a +6. I want them to think about those numbers. A -7, a +7, a -10 in this case. So we can think about that. Like I said, with your 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, you can start talking about these things and you can start playing games like that with these. So keep that in mind. Now, I talk to my kids about algebra in a way that kind of sounds like I'm talking to a 2nd or 3rd grader sometimes, because I want them to have all kinds of opportunities. So let's just say that I'm talking to them about this problem here. Not this one. We're going to mark this one out. But let's say I've got 3x plus 4 is equal to 8. Now, I said it has to equal 8. So let's get out something that I can do that's going to equal 8. 1, 2, 3. Let's make this, I don't think I should have used 8. Or actually, let's make this subtract. 3x subtract 4 equals 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm saying, I gotta get that variable by itself. Okay, it has to be alone. It likes to be alone. It even wants to be stretched out, but I like for it to be alone. So how do I get rid of this? In this case, subtract 4. What do I have to do to get rid of subtract 4? I have to add 4. So I'm going to add 4. So that means over here I've got to do what? Same thing on the other side. I'm going to add 4, so I'm going to add 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I've got 3x, and I said they like to kind of spread out. They like to be by themselves, so each x has to be on its own terms. So 3 x's, and now I'm going to fair share all of my macaronis. And when I talk about fair share, it means everybody gets the same amount. Fair share means everybody gets the same amount. 1 for you, 1 for you, 1 for you. 1 for you, 1 for you, 1 for you. 1 for you, 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 1 for you. Does everybody have the same amount? So x is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the way I want to be able to do this. I want to talk to them about things, like I said, that's going to be really easy for them to do. I want to give them some problems, build them up, and then let them go with what they already know. And they can draw this out. This is something they can draw out. They don't have to do that. Now, can I do this also with a ruler? Absolutely I can. So I know that it's 8. That's where I'm starting. I said I'm going to add 4. Makes me to 12. Now I have to fair share 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. What did I just do? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And how many do I have? 4. So I can do that. Keep that in mind. These are just some different ones that I can do. Now, the last thing that I really wanted to talk to you guys today about, and you're probably having some anxiety about, is our wonderful shapes, right? Because, you know, how long has it been since we've talked about shapes, and how long has it been since you looked at edges, vertices, and faces? The great thing about it is there's shapes all over your house. There's shapes everywhere, right? I mean, you have them all over the house. So let's talk about that. Let's grab a shape and talk about this. What is this? Well, in this case, it's a what? It's a cube. These are the edges. The points are the vertices. And these are the faces. And so you may want to grab a shape and say, tell me about that shape. Just talk to me about this shape. It's so important. Just talk about that shape. And say, you know, what's this called here on the flat side? That's a face. It's a face. It has a base that I sit it on. There's a base. And these are the what? Edges. How many edges does it have? And then go around and count 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, it has 12. It has 12. Well, how do you know that? Well, you got 4 here, you got 4 here, 4 here. Then, how many vertices does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4, because these are the points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the points. And then, can you find something else that maybe has similar to this one? Can you have something else that has more than this one? Maybe there's a funky shape design that you have in your house, and they can find that and they can talk about those. Talk about if it's regular or irregular shaped. Is it, does it have a strange side? Is it, this is regular shaped, so this is fine, but is there something that maybe comes off and has a different shape to it, makes it irregular? So talk about those kind of things. But those are just a few of the things that you can do. You can build shapes also, and have them build shapes and talk about, that the points. Play-Doh is great for this, and that's the reason I wanted to do this. And I'm sorry I picked a really ugly color of Play-Doh. It's rather brown, so, but that's okay. So here we go. So I can just make these little circles, make little round circles here. And the kids can actually make shapes using toothpicks. So we'll talk about that. So in this case, we can build a triangle if we wanted to. Be real easy to do. And they can build right triangles, they can build other things, because you can break your toothpicks if you needed to. You might not want to, you might want to save them, but I don't know if I'd want to use these after that. So here's your triangle. We could talk about that. We can make this into a pyramid if we needed to. And so we could have one coming down here, one out here. Make sure it's got a good base. We could do that. So you can make different shapes, and you can talk about what shape did you make, how many vertices does it have, how many faces would it have. This could get to be interesting because you can make all kinds of different shapes. You can build with them and make them bigger. So this is just one of them. Like I said, I'm going to turn him over so you can see him kind of in my hand. You see the base here. This could be the base, and how many bases could it really have because of the way you can turn it. Those kind of things. Why is this a pyramid? What constitutes a pyramid at this point? Those kind of things. Just talk to your kids about those kind of things. But everything in your house you can turn into math lessons. Cooking is so good for math lessons, so keep that in mind too. I know it's a hard time right now, and I greatly appreciate what all you parents are doing out there. I greatly appreciate what our teachers are trying to do out there. So if you need anything, you can contact us at the Kentucky Valley Educational Co-op's The Holler.